Definitely gotta play some music or something. What are we gonna do? Some... Definitely gotta play some music or something. What are we gonna do? Some... Definitely gotta play some music or something. What are we gonna do? Some... So I'm self-taught. I'm not that good. I taught myself how to 3D model and do Photoshop and all that sort of stuff when I was in pretty much high school. No one taught me. I couldn't get tutorials really back then because I didn't even have the internet, so I just had to learn how they worked. So at the moment, what I'm doing is I'm trying to 3D model this bad boy, which is the Fink. It's like a scout plane in Total Annihilation. It's the course basic scout plane. Well, managed to get a pretty good start. Had to teach myself everything all over again, just get used to the interface, and I still don't have everything set up the way that I wanted it, and I still need to remember all the tricks, because when you make vehicles that are multi-part, the individual objects, and when you actually try to put them in game, you get all sorts of weird shit happening. So like, I'm just trying to do a wing here at the moment with a couple of little quirks, and did it by drawing splines, turning them into surface meshes, and should I put it on polygonal view or like wireframe? Can't even remember how to do that. Ah, yes, that's the one. So that's what I usually have it on, so that I can see how my faces are working out. Now have a look at the different sort of lighting conditions. So when you're looking at this, for example, that facet has like a really smooth gradient from this angle, but when you look at it from this angle, it's like you can clearly see that line in it. In Battlefield 1942, it's not a very high poly game. You're kind of restricted in what you can do. So a typical tank for me would be anywhere between 2,000 and 4,000 polygons, roughly. So 2 to 4,000 poly, that was the budget. It's a hell of a lot bigger now, but just getting back to the roots. So at the moment, what I've got going is I've recreated the wing and the Fink. Now the thing about the Fink is that the way I originally modeled it was I made it so that it was a VTOL takeoff fighter, and its wings had variable pitch. Or not variable pitch, variable yaw? Is it yaw? I don't know. So when it was landed, the wings would be folded over like that. And when it was actually flying, its wings would unfold and go, out like that. Basically did what I exploited landing gear. So instead of having landing gear rotate out and down, I had the wings go, And out. I'm pretty sure I put actual landing gear on it as well, but I digress. So far I'm about that far done, which is, funnily enough, it's actually not that far away. I've done like some of the hardest parts of it. Another interesting thing is that, see on the inside how there's no faces on the inside of that mesh? That's again to save your poly count. So the next thing I got to do is I got to try and work out the body of this. I don't know what the back looks like. The one thing I used to do as well was I'd export the 3D models directly from Total Annihilation. Yeah, you could actually do that. And import them into 3ds Max. And I'd have a look at them from all angles to try and suss out how I'd make it look. But the key is that you couldn't really make it look exactly the same because low poly. Like this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very low poly. So you can't really rely on it. You gotta be like a little bit creative, like hence why I come up with, you know, the wing part of it. So what I gotta do now is, now I've done that, I had to teach myself how to control this bloody thing all over again. So you can constrain your movement by selecting like Y or like the different axes. And I've got, at the moment, vertex snap and grid snap on. And you enable that by going into snaps toggle up here. The ones I recommend is setting grid points, vertex. You can also set it to edge and face for certain things. Tangents as well, they're a good one. Sometimes midpoints, because like if you're selected by a midpoint and you want it like right in the middle of something, and I'll use axis constraints, and that's pretty much the settings that I use. So now that I've got that part done anyway, I can save that. Like I'm happy with it for the moment. I can tessellate it later and make it like have more faces. It's going to be fun to do a UV unwrap on it, that's for sure. So we start working on the central body. So I got two options. I can either jam the wings into the body, or I could actually organically grow this off the 3D model itself to draw the meshes. It's complicated vertex work, especially because of the angle of it. So probably the easiest way to get started on that is you gotta visualize the shape that you're starting off with and like the shape that you want. So it's got a triangle, so it's 1, 2, 3 points. Alright? So it's got to snap to those 3 points on both sides, whatever I do. And then we've got to grow it from 3 points up into... We could take that straight forward. Yeah, we'll do that. The thing is, if you're using splines, you've got to think ahead, because you're going to be closing them as well. You can't just like if you've got a pad or something like that, it's a lot easier. I don't have one. Anyway, beer time. So I've got a pretty good option anyway. I reckon we're gonna need how many points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, 7-point spline. Okay. So to get that organized, we'll go to the front. Have a look at the front of it. It's been so long since I've done this. So what you want to do is you want to draw an enclosed shape. Something that like will kind of help me grow it out to this shape. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when you got the spline closed like that, as you can see in here, it's kind of like all over the place. How it's actually drawn it. Yeah, you can fix that up. It's simple enough. Just go to one of the side views, and then you can select the verses, which are these little points. And we want it all to... No, I'll do it from the top actually. We want it all to line up on a horizontal axis, except for these 2 back ones. We want the 2 front ones to be probably something like that, maybe? So that gives us an idea of like what sort of shape we might be able to organically grow out of it. So if I do a do a quick weld, probably don't even need to do it, just in case. Convert to edible mesh. Oh, it's glitched. I'll have to reload now, but it's created it. Once I quickly load it back up, you'll be able to see it. It's a very old copy of 3ds Max. Luckily it's still in trial. So the way it's grown it out is just done it like that. So it's sort of, ooh, see that face there, that's bad. See how it clipped in? It's because I didn't draw enough lines. Thinking. This is the cheat way of doing it. Of course, now I've got it on snap, so it's going to be a pain in the ass. Plus, I shouldn't really try to do it in the perspective view if it's not a wireframe. So now, what we're going to do is I've got to get one of these vertices in here, and I've got to break them. Nah, I'll redo it. It's because it's created the surface the wrong way. I'll have to do it in smaller sections. It'll just be easy to completely redo it. So you gotta kind of like visualize the shapes. I used to be really good at it. What if we try like just an ordinary triangle of it? Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. I'm going at it from the wrong side. Yep. And sometimes it's easier to just make it more simple. course, I'm being derpy with all the selections. It's bugged up again. I seem to remember it used to do this all the time back in the day as well. Okay, so that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to create something that's a face, something that can be built off. And that will be fine for that purpose. I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. I won't be able to just well, I could potentially just mirror it. That'd be the quick way to do it. It won't fit exactly though, so I'll have to I'm pretty sure I didn't do it perfectly the same on both sides. But it actually looks like it's pretty close. There we go. So now that that's done like that, we should be able to convert. Perfect. Still gonna basically play connect the dots for a little bit until we get like a square shape. I'm actually surprised that didn't create that face properly then. Yeah. Bug out and back in. Can't remember what I did to fix it. It's not Direct 3D. It's not software. Still forgetting the controls. I used to know all the keyboard shortcuts. Forgotten everything. And it's bugged again. Okay, that time it made it. Beauty. Yeah, it's whenever I convert a mesh. When I'm in this view. It corrupts whatever view I'm in when I select it. I'll try one more this way, just in case that fixes it. What is it? Preference. Viewports. Driver. Try OpenGL. See if that makes a difference. Alrighty. So that part's successful. Basically, I needed to do that to create like some form of structure to build off that wing shape. I could have just been lazy and just built a rectangle, like a box, and just shoved the wings into it. But that would have been lazy. And the added benefit you get by not doing that is when you have a look at these in edge faces. Just fix that. Right, so that's the actual polygons. You don't need to worry too much about that bit yet. It'll become apparent anyway once I drag it out a little bit. So first thing I've got to do is I've got to select all these and touch them so that they become the one object. Now technically they aren't the one object yet. The one thing with 3ds Max that you have to get used to doing is selecting all your vertices, which are the little individual points, and welding. You can use a fairly high tolerance. But that unifies the faces, so it makes them essentially like a complete shader. Is it Gorad shading? So Gorad shading is when it displays like one gradient of color across the surface of an object, like you can see here. And when all the vertices are joined, it smooths it out. And if you can actually do some cool little effects if you know what you're doing. In transitions between different types of surfaces, like say if you want one surface to be like really dirty and one surface to be like really metallic, you can deliberately unweld the vertices, and that way you won't get shading flowing across from one object to the other. So just fix that out at the top left and front. And now we just basically start to drag some shape out of it. So we want it to be kind of like a Can't even see the grid really in this pic. There you go. Now you can kind of see it a bit. So these bottom ones aren't even attached at all to these 3 points. That was the whole point of doing this. So now if I get this, I can drag that down there like that. You can get that and drag that up there like that. And now we've got an angled surface that matches up perfectly with the corners of the edge of the wing. That's like 3D modeling in a nutshell. So now that we've got that, we've got a surface that we can build something off easily without having to go through all that mess. So now I can actually get my splines and start just like experimenting with different shapes. We're pretty much going to be mirroring the whole thing, so now we've got a cross section. Now the only thing is that we don't want to actually build the cross section off that. Like if I turn that into a face, now that will just be like a flat face facing this way. But it helps for like construction purposes. It gives you like an ability to visualize it. Somehow I managed to put a camera in there. Oops. So what that does is it lets you build off it like this. This is the quick way of doing it. Like that. Let's see if it bugs up. It still bugs. It lets you build the surface. One thing I would have done is the other way you can do it is you can kind of like just create like a cylinder and then drag the points to do it, but like this is like more of a freeform way of doing it. I should be able to do the same thing down here now. Just basically rinse and repeat. At least it's reliably buggy. Aha! Yeah, here's a little trick. I didn't... it's been a while since I've done this. It's actually been, what? 10 or 12 years, I think. 10 years since I've done any 3D modeling. You can inverse normals. So that face there is on the wrong side, right? Rather than being on the bottom, it's on the top. So what you got to do is you got to select the item. I think you're going to select the faces. And that will show you the normal. So the normal, those little blue lines that are coming off it, that's the direction that the face is actually supposed to be like facing. And what you got to do is you got to do a modifier. And you've got to do edit normals. And you've got to do... oh god, what is it? I'm pretty sure it's inverse normal. I can't remember exactly how to do it. Oh, there we go. Surface properties, flip. Done. Yeah, it's flip normals in surface property. Now, the only thing you got to do, the Battlefield engine is actually kind of tricky. I remember one little thing about it, and that was that if you don't unify it and convert to a mesh again after you do that, what happens is that when you actually export the model, when it gets in the game, it's back being inverted, because you can't export normals for Battlefield 1942 3D models. It's the same in Battlefield 1942, Battlefield 2, Battlefield Vietnam, and Battlefield 2142, I believe, in the engine. I never managed to mod 2142, but I modded Vietnam and 2 as well, and they had the same problem. And that time when I did it, it actually didn't bug. Unbelievably. So now that I've done that and I've built that around that wireframe, I can get rid of it. Like so. And I can get these objects and attach them to the part that I've been growing here. So it's attach, and it's one thing you got to be careful of. You can only select, like, attach select to the face. You can't do it any other way. So if you try and select everything and you're on the front of it like this, sometimes it will miss stuff at the back, depending on what type of selection mode you're using. So now I've got all those vertices again. We'll weld them. I'm going to use like a high sort of ratio for that. And that gives us our shape. So at the moment it's a little bit tubular, it's a little bit bigger than it needs to be. But if you actually look at the model, you know, it is kind of like that. The only thing that I could really do with it is make it a bit more vertical. But that should be right. This craft isn't supposed to have like big long wings, it's supposed to be like kind of chubby. And it narrows down to a point at the front, which is again going to be the difficult part, like figuring out the shape that we're going to do as we do that. But now that we're getting closer to that stage of it, I'm happy to do a mirror. So I'm going to attach these objects now together. And see how that completely affected the shading on the model? Right? Like it looks like a completely different shading object than at the end. And that's like kind of the effect that we want. Like we want it to look different. So now we can select this, we can do a X-axis mirror with a clone. I'm going to mirror the RK limits as well. Eventually I'll set that up properly. And that's going to give us our plain body shape. And we'll do the same on this side as well. Notice how that's actually centered. It's because I've got that set up for a pivot already. When I actually do export these to Battlefield, they will be a completely different export. They'll be exported as a different file. So we're going to align these by selecting this right in the middle of that and then aligning it like that. And the way that you get it looking exactly the same on both sides is then you use transforms on the actual on there. You can do it by keyboard too. You can actually type it in. So that's like a -245 from the center of origin. And that one will be a a 30. So the model's not completely centered, but that is basically 100% mirrored. Like it's as close as you're going to get to it basically being spot on. So quick thing we can do to finish off this is we can do the line on the outside of the box here. Make sure we select the right part. Yep, fucked it up. So that will do that. And we can flip that. We're doing a vertical mirror. And then using the front to drag, hopefully, the right one down. That gives us our plane body. Okay. Perfect shading. And that's important in all graphical engines. Increases how polished the model looks when you actually texture it. Save. So the tricky part is going to be dividing down these points. So pretty much got to do it from a side view. See how, like, when I select it, it's only like doing the one side. So when I'm actually doing this, I'm gonna have to switch from one side to the other. So now we got to reduce the complexity, but also keep it symmetrical. So you got to count how many sides there are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So 4. If we take these 3 points and we take it down to 1, that eliminates 2 vertices and takes it down 2 in scale. So that's highly angular. If we do it just down to 2, it's a gradual drop in complexity. So if we look at this 3D model, it's actually more like it's more of a gradual drop for the first step. And then the second step's like way more smaller. So like we'll do it smooth and then increase the angular towards the front of it. Beer o'clock. It's actually nearly my bedtime too. I've made a pretty good start today. Like, I've actually got all of the old applications and plugins and everything that I used to use. I think the only one I'm missing is like the DDS converter that was built into Photoshop. I'm not sure if you can even get that anymore. A lot of people who made this shit just aren't around anymore. So by the looks of it on this image, it cuts down, it stays relatively flat on the top, but it cuts down more on the sides. So if I'm going to cut down one of the points, will be one of the how many points is it? 1, 2, 3. Tricky. There's only 3. I've got to do a vertical slice. So what you do is you get the model, you select the face that you need to select. Which in this case it's these. Like that. I'm just going to do it on the front. You select slice plane. And here's where it starts getting tricky. So to do this transform, when I do a cut, it's going to cut the polygons and put vertices exactly where I want them. So what I got to do is I got to go front, rotate it on the Z axis. What's going on here? Oh, it's selecting Twitch, I think. YouTube. Yeah, that's a new bug. That's better. So you select rotate. It's going to be on the Z axis. That's the rotational axis. And you want it to go 90 degrees. Like that. Right. And then you've got to use an edge snap move. As close as you can get to it. Luckily it's rotated right on one of the grid lines. And right in the middle of here is right in the middle of it. So if we just select that point, selecting Y on one of these grid points, we just drag it straight down, that will line up perfectly right there. And if you look at it like that, see what I mean? So what I got to do now is hit slice like that. See how it's screwed up the shading on this side? It's because it's introduced an extra vertex, but we'll fix that up when we weld it. And now if we have a look at the vertices, there's an extra vertex there in the middle. And that lets us reduce it down more gradually on the top compared to the side. So the way that you do this is this is the tricky part. Fucking technique. What technique? You gotta go modifiers, cap, I think, cap holes. Yeah, there we go, cap holes. So that just basically created a really quick face on the end there. Easy peasy, right? And then all you gotta do is select the face. Well, you convert it to a mesh first. Then you select the face. And you got a perfectly flat surface, right? Like that. And you detach it. Now I can select it, drag it out, got a little fly buzzing around. And make sure I select the right one. Oh yeah, when you've got an object selected and you select by face, you can't select faces that aren't part of the object, because I've already detached it. So now I've got that selected. Go to the side, like left here, and we can use our grid snap to drag it out like that. Now, try and see where I'm going with this, right? So, same thing I was doing before, like, we're building a scaffold, basically. That's all it is. And I'll look at this image, and it's like, okay, so how far does it come forward on the first step down? It's about that far, right? Maybe a little bit. No, it's about right. Yeah, it's about right. We'll do it there. And now, we got these 4 points. And basically what we got to do is, we got to reduce it in size. And the way we do that is we use a scale. And we should be able to just drag it. Yeah, it's not cooperating. That's probably because it's got the wrong thing selected. Alright, there we go. So now I can squeeze it like that and get like a more exaggerated sort of squeeze by doing it like that vertically, right? Still with me? And it only comes in a little bit on the photo. So we'll do X about yay much. I'll probably go about what? No, let's say we'll go uniform. I reckon it looks better like that. You'll find out soon anyway. No, I'll make it a little bit wider. You gradually step down. And now we can do the same thing. Why is not letting me copy the bloody thing? Hey man, how you going? Getting back into a little bit of 3D modeling! Just wondering why I can't copy paste this thing. Clone! Copy. There we go. So I'm starting to get like really nostalgic, and I'm like, hey, I should recreate all the old mods that I made in Battlefield. What am I missing? It's snap. Where's my snap gone? I can't even see my snap at the moment. Ah, there it is. Do it from the top, maybe. It'd be a bit easier. Much better. So far I'm doing like a Oh, that one doesn't have its object reference yet. Oh, it's glitched. Reload. So I'm basically showing you like how I taught myself how to do 3D modeling, because like I'm not trained, like I don't really, I've never gone and done this at school, so I'm sure there's a lot easier ways to do it. But what I do is I like building like kind of like sort of scaffolds with extrusions and shapes, and then I like filling in the blanks with splines, and I like drawing the faces and then turning them into surfaces rather than like just creating a rectangle and dragging the corners wherever you kind of want them. So at the moment that's what this is. It's kind of like just really a visualization aid, these. So the next step down was it goes all the way in, so it gets even smaller, about that big. Yeah, I could make it a hell of a lot more angular by cutting down the poly. But it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's more of a smooth like growth down, and then there's like a sort of a beaky condorish, birdish type head on it. It's like it's a core scout plane. Core are like pattern machines that have been had their consciousnesses transferred into a machine. Kind of like Necrons, really. Except for they run around, they're trying to turn like everyone else into a Necron. The Necrons don't really do that. I could have just done a straight extrusion, now that I think about it. Probably would have been quicker. Bingo, done. Okay. So now I can select this face that's here. And delete that now. Kind of like that. I could make it look like that. After I turn it into a surface. Only problem is the renderer bugs every time I convert a mesh. I gotta flip some normals. At least that isn't too hard. Kind of predicted it. I knew I'd have to flip some. I could very easily do that. Because it's a flying vehicle, so flying vehicles are actually the easiest. That's why I started off with it on this. So I knew like I'd be able to make some progress and get back into it a little bit. So it's down here at surface properties flip. And then you gotta select all, unify. No. I missed one. I did miss one. Reloading. Yeah, so and you can easily make floating vehicles in Battlefield, even ones that the AI can fly. This is why I get kind of pissed off that they've ruined Battlefield, because it used to be so moddable. Used to be able to do so much stuff with it. Why isn't it creating that face? Why did it just not save it? I suppose I could cheat. How do you do that? Let's select face. No, clone. Then you just detach one face. Oh, I could have detached as a clone. That would have been easier. Then I can get these points. Yeah, well, I mean, like, you can modify every single aspect of the physics. Weight, springs, like physics, interactions with surfaces. You name it, you can basically do it. Well, there are some limitations in the engine. Like there are some things you can't do. Like for instance, if you want a guided missile, you have to put a big invisible cone on the end of the missile attached to a spring that when the cone touches an enemy plane on the inside of the cone, the spring makes the cone bend, which makes the missile arc up and turn towards it. But so like you got to do like little kind of weird tricks with physics to get stuff to work. This is why I don't like doing it this way, because it's too fiddly. Fiddling! What the fuck? Ugh. Yeah, you can make lasers. So what I usually do for laser effects is I use a what's the best way to put it? I use almost like a 2D sprite, except for it's in 3D. So it's got like a horizontal, vertical, and diagonal cross section, but they're two-dimensional surfaces, so there's no like, if you view it front on, you can't see shit. In a sort of like a spear point arrowhead shape, and then I add a particle effect to it, like a almost like a bazooka trail, except for smaller, denser, and on fire. And obviously coloured like the colour of a laser or something like that. So like if you were doing it as a white one, probably use like some form of like smoke effect and come up with a way to make it look like a solid gooey object rather than like an energy weapon. So you screw one thing up and it takes you 10 hours to fix it. There we go. So here's where I can start to simplify it a little bit. I can take these points where it's here, and I can move them like that. Yeah, we're gonna make it more vertical angler than not, like so. So we're basically reducing the model's complexity. Like that. I'd probably even go one step further if I really wanted to. But I think that's a bit too far. So we'll weld that. It's welded. So now I can draw vertices from these 3 points down to 1, which makes it like come together in a point a bit more. And like I remember back in the day when you're trying to run this stuff on like a like an Intel Pentium 4 with hyperthreading, or a Celeron. I remember when I was like, that was the computer I had when I was doing this. I had like a 32 megabyte graphics card. If that. I can't even remember how. God, times have changed. Celeron. It's a really budget processor. When computers used to be a lot more expensive. I don't even know how I got that angle on it. I was pretty sure I didn't put a curve on it. It's actually splined around through the object there. Yeah, it's not that far off from a celery, yeah. The only thing is that this shape isn't going to work. And neither will that one. I don't know how I got that curve in it. That's better. It probably was. All I know is that they were really slow. Well, to be fair, they did the job, but certainly wasn't happy about it. Yeah, let's see if this looks right. Perfect. Perfect! So, artistic expression. Yeah. I mean, it looks alright. It's not exactly the same though, it's a bit beefier and chunkier. How can I fix that? Gonna make that a lot smaller, I reckon. After I finish doing the faces for it. It's looking a bit like a toucan at the moment. Yeah, it needs a bit of slimming. What? That completely did not work. That should have worked fine. Believe it or not, I used to use this plane a fair bit to do that. It's only a scout plane. It's not heavily armed. It's supposed to have like a medium range radar and like a very light armament. In the original Eternal Elation, it was completely unarmed, but I found I had to chuck at least one laser on it. So I don't know why it's not building that face. That should be completing that and converting that into a mesh. But it's not. Try again. I've done something wrong. Could just cheat and do a plane. But it takes too much fucking around to do one. This I can just do that. But for some reason it is not working at all. I don't know why either. Ah, such is life. Yeah, true that it is, but I'll just copy one of these faces off and detach it and clone it. Save. I'll just build the rest of it out of triangles quickly, just to save stuffing around. And the thing is, when you build it out of triangles, you sometimes end up with it not being as symmetrical. Like, sometimes, if your math is off a little bit, you got to do math while you're doing this. Ah. That could be why. Maybe it didn't want to create that sort of polygon. Whoop. This is the long way of doing it. Really. But at least it's reliable. Revenge of the Clones! Yeah. I'm actually thinking about giving it 2 this time. Last time I did it, I only gave it 1. And that's because I didn't have the secret weapons of World War II X-Pack for Battlefield 1942. Because I didn't have money. And I couldn't buy shit. I was at university, I was a starving uni student eating dim sims for meals. Yeah, so I'm gonna give it probably 2. And I'm gonna give it radar on the tail. The original version, the gun was actually mounted up on the tail. Like on the back of it. And there's a big gun over the top of the plane. The original way I made it. So it is a little bit different from how I did it. but still, it's still good. I mean, it's completely different from how I did it. I'll never be able to recreate how good it was because I put so many thousands of hours into it and I'm kind of rushing. So, I mean, I'd make a 3D model and think it was shit, and then like 2 weeks later I'd like completely remodel it. Symmetry. Yes. Oops. No. What have I done? I don't know what I've done. When in doubt, redo. Sometimes like I've done a 3D model and used it for months, and then like I've looked closely at it and I've realized like there's like a couple of extra faces hidden here and there, and I'm like, where the hell did those come from? It's because they're like little errors while I'm 3D modeling, and like it still ends up looking good, so they get left in and you don't notice them until like you try to refine it. Symmetry. See, this is the reason why I prefer to do I'll get another beer and I'll explain. 1 second. Yeah, so this is the reason why I don't like doing it this way. Because I stuff up sometimes. So if you look at closely at these faces, right, on that, see how it goes into the point in the middle? But on this side I've managed to get the point coming the other way. And you have a look at underneath how I've done that to a point, and then it's line, line, line. Now, the reason why this is important is because, see when I'm adjusting this angle? Look at the shading on the blue. Now look at the shading on that. So that's the sort of shit I'll leave in. But like, if I was working for an actual game studio, that's like big fucking no-no right there. I'm not happy with that level of quality. It's got to be fucking perfect. But it is what it is. You know, like I'm just an old 45-year-old dude reminiscing about the past, making 3D models. So that's done, finally. Now I could have just drawn the lines in and turned it into a surface, but no, it started bugging up and wouldn't let me do it. Right? So now what I'll do is I'll get the fuck out rid of that. Have a look around. See that face just there, how it doesn't have the spline on the edge? So like these are the little things you don't notice unless you're a 3D modeler, right? It's like when you look inside stuff and like you're actually looking at the wireframe and you're like, wait a second, that doesn't look right. And like you wouldn't notice it if you weren't, you know? It's those like little imperfections that like I pick up on a lot of the time. We'll see what it looks like after I've welded it. Yeah, it's barely acceptable. Right. So the reason why that sucks is if you look at the shading, see how it's got those like little dark spots? Like there. And it's actually pretty good on this side, but you can see a difference in the shading going that way and going that way on that one and that one. A little bit. Like this is really old rendering tech, but it is what it is. So the reason why I leave these disattached from the back one is so that I could attach these, do a weld, and actually have a little bit of a play with the shape. So if I get that front, see, look at that, that's gross. That's bad. Look at it. I mean, you wouldn't notice it unless you're a 3D modeler. Okay, so I select all these ones in the middle, like so. We'll give it a bit of a weightless treatment. That's better. I reckon that's a shitload better. Oh. Random thing sitting over there for some reason. Yeah, so you can see the shading where it's kind of screwing up. There is a way to fix that though. So to fix that, you got to do like like another slice. And cut where that shade is right in half. Probably about here. And that will change the way that the Gorad shading works if you put like more vertices in. It fixes it. But I'll leave it in for the moment. If it really bugs me later, like I'll wait till I see what it looks like when it's in game. And it's actually got a texture on it. Oh god, unpacking textures. I haven't done that in yonks. That's going to be fun. And it will also look completely different when I attach the body to it. Just for reference. And like the way that each 3D modeler will, like engine will render it is a little bit different. Like you get different effects out of it, depending on like what shaders and stuff are being used. Whether or not you set it as like a glossy or a matte texture. All sorts of stuff. Considering I haven't done this in 10 years, I'm quite happy with the progress I've made today. It's nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. Try and guess what time I went to bed yesterday. Close. 4 hours off. $29. Do you know what time I got up for work? 31 o'clock. That's right, I am running on 2 hours. 2 hours of sleep. And it's nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, bloody I've been nocturnal for the past couple of weeks because of like Christmas holidays. That's why I haven't been streaming or anything, because I've just been like watching YouTube till like 5 o'clock in the morning and playing a lot of Grand Blue and not so much like streaming or playing games. Catching up on the Wheel of Time, The Expanse, The Witcher. Binge watched the second season of The Witcher. How many polygons are we at the moment? Haven't checked yet. It's only a plane, so it won't be very high. But yeah, we're at 508 faces. So that's what? It depends. Like if you think a polygon is through like a face, or if you think a polygon is like two faces. It's kind of weird, like, so like depending on how you think of it. There's even some lines in there that don't have any faces, so that I can delete them out later. So if you think that like two faces is a polygon, then it's like 254 faces, 254 polygons. It's keeping it well under budget. Still looks okay. I mean, the whole point is like we're modeling it off a game that looks like that. I'm not looking forward to this next part. cap. So here's another trick, right? If you wanted to, is it going to screw up? No, it didn't. Oh my god, for a change. If you wanted to cheat, you can use a face extrude. So what you do is you select a face. You select extrude. Select 5, 10, like that. And then you can chuck in a couple of slices. So you got to select faces for that to work. You got to go. Yeah, I know, but the trick is that you make it longer than you need it, and then you make it smaller. I'll show you. Like it's actually a trick. So we want to do a 90-degree rotation. No, not that axis. Not that axis. That axis. Slice. 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 And slice. Yeah, how much work that just saved. But look at how many points, how many vertices there are there that are unnecessary. Bet you to put my polygon count right up there. I actually don't know why it's gone and done it like that. Usually it will just do it and like actually slice the face. Like straight in half, but in this case it's created like crap loads of them. Try selecting by faces instead. See if it makes a difference. Maybe I'll try cut. No. Oh, fuck. Turn the aircon off. Okay. Chuck on some more music. It's done it again. Oh well. See what happens if I do a weld to it. Hopefully it doesn't. Yeah. I think I might do it the other way. Okay, so I'll go back. I'll just select that, fix this up, make it a movement. Yeah, probably. Something like that, maybe. Now what I've got to do, I've got to change my selection snaps. Axis constraints. Okay. So instead, I'll just do multiple face extrudes. Okay, let's see if I can make this turn out alright. Okay, so gotta have it come down even smaller. And the problem is I can't really see what I'm doing now, so I've got to kind of do it by ear. I think I have it get bigger again, yeah. I am kind of just cheating. I'll have to tidy it up and clean it up a little bit in a minute. And then I gotta get the end. And this is the really tricky part. You gotta like select everything. You can do like a really big world. Boop. Don't want to bring it down to that many points, so I gotta try and clean it up and make it look a little bit better than that. Weld those two. It's kind of hoping when that welded it went to the top one, but oh well. Why is that snapping back down? Might cheat and do it this way. There we go. See the way it's deformed in the middle? It's like missing that point. And what I can do is I can bring that up. Like so. Cross. To using the other type of world. Okay, that's better. Now what I gotta do is I gotta split these two. These two edges. Now this is the tricky part. think there's like a divide button somewhere. There it is. So that should have chucked a vertex in the middle there. So, and then I've got to do one there as well. Bloody tricky part. I managed to create one of them. Okay, so that's those two vertices. So now if I get those two, oops. So I'm gonna snap that one to that one. And pull that one down and out. I'm probably going to give up on this because it doesn't look very good, but this part. Yeah, that could work. Once I fix it up. That face there. Find out where that vertex ends up. Detach. That one. Deselect this object and select that. That. There we go. Same thing to this other one. Except for this point, I want to move from there to there. And then I want to move wherever this other point is to there. got this face. Alright, that will do. I can make a shape out of that once it's all welded. Oh, God. Certainly don't make it easy on myself. It's not going to be easy to select all these either, because I can't. They're different bloody colours. I'll have to change the colour. That'll do. So I just gotta weld. There's a stray vertex in there, see that? That can probably be moved straight over to it. As can that. And the welds will clean up some of the faces as well. It should look alright once it's welded. And once it's textured as well, importantly. Wow. That polygon structure is fucking crap. At least it's kind of symmetrical. I mean, like, look how the shading looks on the front of it compared to the rest of it. I don't even know how I managed that. That is what part of the same model, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know how I managed to get the shading so different on the front compared to the back. That's just bizarre. It would be good for a cockpit texture though, because it would be like all faceted. But there's got to be a way to fix that up. Try and mesh smooth. Mesh smooth. There we go. Yeah, boy. That's the reason why it's not linking up. It's because that one face that's just there. There's a face inside that. There's a face that's among us. I honestly don't know how to fix it either. Yeah, still try and mesh smooth. And not to that extreme degree though. So we'll go reduce the smoothness. See, I completely wrecked the back of it. That's the only problem with the mesh smoothers, is it does that to models. What I might be able to do is I might be able to go in and delete that mesh. Got it. Oh, missed it. Oh, I love this music. This is good. Getting rid of the extra faces in it. Beauty. Get rid of that now. Much better. Trying to remember how you do the shading part of it again. It's been a very long time. Smooth? Auto smooth. There we go. Perfect. That never really has much of an effect once you actually get to the import part of it, like when you actually start putting it into the engine. Optimizing and removing like a million faces. Ah, keep them in. Yeah. This is like the equivalent of playing around with filters in Photoshop. Oh, the music's nearly done. After you run smooth multiple times, it starts having diminishing returns. See, Battlefield has its own special way of doing smoothing as well. So like, this isn't what it will actually look like in the game. It won't look anything like this. This is just what it looks like in this application. And like the way that you paint it determines how it actually looks in game. It's weird, but like it gives you a bit of an idea of what it might look like once it's actually finished. Just got to figure out a way to make that fat ass a little bit smaller. that's screwed with the smoothing a bit. See that face there? It's playing up a bit. I could probably take them all the way up to there. See what happens. Yeah, see that whole bit in there. I can fix that. I'm just gonna delete that shit. You're gonna come back to a tail anyway, right? It's like, what? Oh, that's why. There's a guy coming. I've got a feeling I might do a whole lot of control undos in a second. That's alright. Yeah, that'll be right. Sweet. Ah, that's perfect. That's fine. Just gotta put a tail on it. Shit. Because it's snapped to grid and it's not. Urgh. Okay. The one thing about the craft, just quit that before it starts going into something that's probably not allowed for me to play. I like dark music. Witch house, blah blah blah. Sweet. So the thing about the type of craft it is, comes up into quite a high tail. And it's got a slope. It's kind of like almost like a back landing bay. I'll be able to make that look kind of like a maintenance panel or something. Mm-hmm. Ah, no, it bugged. First time in ages. Really doesn't like it when I do splines. It's got to taper back more. Maybe a little bit lower. Fingers crossed. I mean, most of the surfaces turned up. I'm gonna flip a few of them. Yep, turned out alright. Alright. Okay, so it's probably because I did them all at once, rather than one at a time. It's pretty easy to do, you just pick any surface that looks sus and flip it.
Are you like the first mages seeking power? Mortals are such fools. I came to this archive to contain the damage I could cause. My loss of control blasted all that you see into terrible existence. Why do you persist? Turn back. Mortals, no appreciation or understanding of what I do for them. I warned you to leave and take no
Shit.
responsibility for what happens. My magic will destroy you. It rages like a storm.
That's not good. If it didn't work on a unifier, then we're in trouble.
Why are you here?
I'll have to delete that one. Well, still pretty good. I mean, not many of them.
No appreciation or understanding of what I do for them. I warned you to leave and take no responsibility for what happens. Why are you here?
Ah, lost another one. No, it's just the one. One on each one. Cool. Easy fix. Don't want access constraints. Okay. Hopefully. Our worlds. There we go. Please tell me it's unified. Yeah. It's like the easiest thing ever, drawing a fucking box. My god. Oop, not instance. You don't want to clone stuff as instances. You make a change to one and it changes everything. God damn it, I hate it when it does this. I'm not trying to roll the camera, I want to rotate the fucking camera. It's because I've got a bloody camera somewhere. There it is. Much better. Think of unlock to the y-axis. Fuck's sake. It's one frustrating thing. Now it's locked to the y-axis and I don't want to lock to it. God, what have I done? Locked it.
man's gone. We'll be home soon.
Is it dead?
God damn it. Howdy. Basically, that's going to be like a little radar dish that goes I'll probably make it look better later. Just can't be fucked at the moment. Good enough. Alright, so continue cheating using these. Step in midsection, I reckon. Seeing how different sort of layouts look. That looks like around about the best. I'll just trick in the book this one. It's not really meant to be heavily armed. It is a scout plane. And you'll see why it's such a fucking cool thing. You can VTOL. You can hover. Basically sit there like hovering around going pew 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 pew. And I'll be able to give it radar as well. I'll probably have to clean and probably I might even get away with not having to do the cockpit, like an actual cockpit, because it's a core plane, so it's piloted by androids. Well, not androids, like computer programs uploaded into machines, basically. So. Okay, so that can remain separate because it's part of the firearm. I'll probably make it reciprocate when it fires. That's got to remain. That's got to be attached to this. That's a rotating object. So that goes with that. Sweetness! Okay. Done. Only took me a couple of hours. Considering I haven't done it in ages. Now for the fun part. UVW mesh unwraps. Oof. Notice how there's nothing in here that really helps with that one. It's because it's the most pain in the ass part of it. And basically what you got to do next, and this is the fun part, which I won't have time to do today, I'll have one more beer though, that's for fucking sure, is you've got to do a UVW unwrap. I gotta remember how you do it exactly. This is the part I forget. It's been fucking ages. It's because that's on an assembly, that's the reason why it's not working. So I've got to break up that group. Oh boy. Yep. This is called a UVW unwrap. So basically what you got is you've got to unwrap the entire thing flat in like as small a texture file as possible. So you probably want to keep it about like 2000 pixels by 2000, like 2000 pixels square. Is probably your size limit. Maybe 4000 nowadays with new video cards, but that said, games have memory limits built into them, and Battlefield 1942 is a pretty old game, so I'll probably be doing like 2000 by 2000 textures. Now the funny thing about this is all the welding and everything like that is almost exactly the same, except for it's oh man, like how do I even explain it? So this 3D model here shows both above and below. So if I was to just save this as a UVW unwrap mesh and apply this to it right now, the only thing that would do is if I applied texture to it, on the top, the bottom would look exactly the same as the top. except for flipped over. So if you're like wanting to have a texture on the top of the wings and a texture on the bottom of the wings, and then you've also got, like, say if you wanted to say if you wanted the actual like front of the wing, because this is from the vertical up plane, the detail on the front would be cut off, and you've got to take the vertices and start like modifying them. That's a vertex there. That's another one. And the trick with it is you gotta, it's the worst, longest part. If I look at that one on the top there, and look at the one on the bottom, like they're both selected, just from selecting one. Right? So if I actually get that, drag that away, now you can see it. So what you got to do is you got to, where the coordinates are down here, these are your vectors. You have to do the math. So if I say that that is so on height, that one's at 0.818 and that one's at 0.651. What you're supposed to actually do is work out the surface area of every face and make it so that the texture is 1:1. No one has time to do that shit. So what you usually do is you have a calculator open while you're doing it. You just work out what the number is, so it's 818 minus 651. It's a difference of 167. So you go 167 plus 818. Copy. But that's how you do textures for 3D models. And see, like, you gotta, like, the distance between that one that I just moved there and that one, which is the other one that's on the bottom. Right? So that has to be that distance away from that one vertical. So the way you usually do it is you start at one end, you find the highest most point, and then you start flicking them. And where they join together like that, where that point actually joins at the back of the wing now. So that's actually at the back, not the front. The front's up that side, so that's a head fuck and a half already. So you should probably unwrap it downwards. You can start from the highest point, and you got to pick which side the texture won't match up. So the texture will wrap around, but there's always a seam that you've got to hide somewhere. So you can hide the seam. Usually, like, you'd probably hide it on the least looked at visible part of the plane. So like, in this case, you'd hide the seam at the you'd try to hide it at the edges of the wing here. So you'd actually unwrap it out that way. But if you look at this shape, from a top-down perspective. See how it's squished? Now, the thing that you got to keep in mind is that the 3D model for the entire object has to fit in the one texture. So if you're doing a big one like this, rather than just a little pissy one like that, you've got to put a bit there and then rotate it and find like a jigsaw puzzle spot for it, and you fill it. Try and have as much of the texture taken up by the actual 3D model as possible. See? So you just try to get it as close to possible as what it actually looks like on the thing. Try to find the boundary. So in this case, the boundary is basically there. Because we're kind of lucky. I just hate wasting the amount of space that's going to be wasted by if I just like unfold it sideways. That's the only problem. And where these worlds are, they determine if they're unwelded. That's when the texture isn't contiguous. And Battlefield doesn't take, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't take rectangular texture maps. They've got to be square, as far as I recall. So just in the interest of texture fidelity, I'm going to probably do it sideways just to fit as much as possible into it. And people are going to be looking at the back of it more than they're looking at the front of it. So we'll use the front leading edge of the wing as the cut between the texture. Did I just do opposites day? I did. It's been a while since I've done this, so it's just like, whoa! What are we doing? There's a button to break the world. I forgot. That's it. No. Oh man, I completely fucking forget. As I said, you gotta do it with math. It's the only way. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. I'll leave it there, I'll get onto it tomorrow. I don't work tomorrow, so... Ah, come on, I can quickly do it. Fuck it. Won't take long. So we want to use the trailing edge. So I'm going to break these edges, that's right. Yeah, we'll do that first. You got to kind of use the color as the guide, so where you can see the colors up here. That's the texture line. So if you drag the colored one, you've got the wrong one. Oh no, that's right. You do it one color at a time. I think they've changed the way that you do it, because it never used to be like that. Like it never used to color it as you do it. At least I can't remember doing it like that. Oh no, I remember how. Oh jeez. Yes! I nearly forgot. So that's how you do it, like that. That's how you know what's been selected. So that's the top panel of your wing, right? So that's the leading edge. Break welds. There we go. Okay. Now This is the part where you're going to play a little bit of a guessing game. So that part is the part that's good, the one that's underneath it. Yeah. There was an easy way to do it. I just can't remember what it was. Oh, I know what it's done. How did I used to do it? It was I used to do it one face at a time. So that's supposed to be more like there was a snap, use the snap to snap it. Yeah, and then when you can see the dart, that's when you know you've done it right. So then that needs to be taken like all the way over here. And you've got to kind of like reconstruct it as you go. So that part's the wrong part. That it's going to be that face. Like that. And then you can grab the next part, which is going to be that. I'm going to break that. Do your vertices. There used to be all sorts of shortcuts that I've forgotten. There we go. That one's got to move. We're out of music. Forget exactly how you select it. Aha, there we go. I think it's not broken, maybe? There we go. Got it. Whatever that panel is. Ah, yeah. Okay, so that's the last bit there. There we go. missing a big piece. Oh, yeah. I used to have a much better way of doing this, but it is what it is. Pretty close. I think there might... What was the other way that I did it? Did I used to do it by material IDs, maybe? Start again. Oh, so that's how you zoom in and out. Okay. I wonder if you can do it by just selecting all the faces. Hitting break. Mirroring it. I knew there was an easier way. Fucking nailed it. It's as close to perfect as you're gonna get it. Like, without cheating. Okay, so we'll select all the faces and see how we go. Good. Half. And the other side should have nothing on that other side. Got it. One wing unwrapped. So then what you do, so now I can actually clone that wing, and because it's basically an attachment. What's the other thing? We got to weld the points, don't we? Points have got to be welded. What's going on here? That's it. Done. And then you got to render the template, which you want to do as a 2048. 2048. Can't remember if you got to change any of the alphas or anything like that. But that will basically come up with this image here, and that's your template for doing your UVW unwraps. Done. And basically you got to carefully paint that in, essentially. That's when you get onto your Photoshop and stuff, which I'm not going to do today, for now. As always, thank you for coming along. and I shall catch you on the flip side.